Imagine living 800 feet under crushing black water, inside a steel cylinder the size of an office building turned sideways. Your world has no sunrise, no wind. Every sound matters, every mistake can become a legend for all the wrong reasons. And yet, somewhere beneath the waves a handful of Americans are wide awake at this exact moment listening to the ocean breathe. They are the silent guardians of the submarine force, unseen, unheard, and absolutely essential. You've seen carriers on TV, they roar. Submarines whisper, while surface ships project power. It's the boats you never see that make the loudest strategic statement. The U.S. undersea fleet splits into two tribes: fast attack submarines, SSNs, hunters, scouts, problem solvers, chasing enemy boats, and guarding carrier groups, ballistic missile submarines. SSBNs are different. They vanish on purpose, carrying a silent promise that if anyone ever tries to end America with nuclear fire, a second strike will answer from the deep. That single fact shapes decisions in foreign capitals more than most people realize. Under treaty limits, the U.S. Navy confirms Ohio-class SSBNs now carry up to 20 active Trident D5 tubes. What lets a submarine vanish for months is a heart that never needs air. Inside the hull, a pressurized water reactor. Heat born in the core warms a closed loop. Steam spins turbines, and the boat slides forward without ever lighting a conventional engine. No exhaust plume, no need for oxygen. In theory, a nuclear submarine could stay submerged indefinitely. In practice, it comes up when the lettuce runs out. Stealth isn't an option, it's the operating system. Ballistic missile submarines, SSBNs, are different. They vanish on purpose, carrying a silent promise that if anyone ever tries to end America with nuclear fire, a second strike will answer from the deep. That single fact shapes decisions in foreign capitals more than most people realize. Under treaty limits, the U.S. Navy confirms Ohio-class SSBNs now carry up to 20 active Trident D5 tubes. What lets a submarine vanish for months is a heart that never needs air. Inside the hull, a pressurized water reactor. Heat born in the core warms a closed loop. Steam spins turbines, and the boat slides forward without ever lighting a conventional engine. No exhaust plume, no need for oxygen. In theory, a nuclear submarine could stay submerged indefinitely. In practice, it comes up when the lettuce runs out. Stealth isn't an option, it's the operating system. Space isn't scarce, it's extinct. Junior sailors hot bunk. 3 men, 2 beds, trading warm mattresses on a schedule. Your kingdom, a locker and a curtain. Even officers share cabins. The only private room belongs to the captain, and even their privacy is a temporary visitor. So how do you hold morale together in a steel tube? Food. The silent service fights with forks for meals a day to match rotating watches, and a reputation for the best chow in the Navy. Sunday might taste like steaks and ice cream in the middle of the Pacific. That matters more than you think. Everyone gets humbled by the same ritual, the qualification grind. You trace systems with a grease pencil until every pipe and valve lives in your head. You'll be quizzed at 0200 in the passageway. You'll memorize emergency actions until they come out faster than thought. When you finally pin on your silver dolphins, it's not jewelry, it's permission to belong. Chiefs, the senior enlisted backbone, teach you the difference between book knowledge and boat sense. On SSBNs, to cruise, blue and gold, tag team the same submarine, so it can spend most of its life at sea. Deterrence doesn't take weekends. The ocean is patient, but the submarine's worst enemies are smaller and meaner: fire and flooding. Fire steals oxygen in a sealed habitat. Flooding adds tons of water in seconds. Damage control drills don't feel like drills. They feel like auditions for survival. You learn to fight a blaze in a corridor, barely wider than your shoulders. You practice sealing compartments and living with that decision. You rehearse steep ascents, angles and dangles, emergency maneuvers that pitch stomachs and strain steel, because getting to the surface fast can be the difference between a story and a memorial. Even elite crews can stumble. In 2021, the Seawolf-class USS Connecticut struck an undersea mountain. No reactor breach, but a sobering reminder. Discipline is oxygen. When the water gets dark, silence changes people. Not in a grim way, but in a precise way. The background hum becomes a lullaby. Jokes get darker and faster. Laughter becomes a pressure valve. Letters from home arrive as short bursts of sanitized text. Sometimes nothing comes for weeks. Sailors build tiny rituals: a certain book before rack, a specific mug at mid-rats. Little islands of control in an endless sea. Some dream vividly on patrol and again when they return to daylight. Families build their own toughness on shore. No late-night calls, just faith and a calendar. The submarine community is tight because it has to be. Out in contested waters, attack submarines play chess. with pieces most people don't know exist. They shadow foreign boats, sip the electronic noise of entire coastlines, map cables, and sometimes touch history. A lockout trunk can whisper special operators into black water. Unmanned underwater vehicles slip away from torpedo tubes to scout without risking the ship. The game keeps evolving, so does the threat. New sensors try to see what makes no sound. The answer: better stealth, smarter tactics, and people allergic to complacency. All of this invisibility costs visible money. Building a nuclear submarine means teaching metal to keep secrets. Only a handful of shipyards can even try. The supply chain stretches across states into companies you've never heard of machining parts thinner than a postcard. The Columbia class, the next generation of SSBNs, will carry the nation's nuclear guarantee into the 2080s. Depending on who's counting, each hull costs in the low double-digit billions. The entire program clears the $120 billion horizon, and that's before training and maintenance. Critics ask, is it worth it? Planners answer with one question: if the worst day in human history ever arrives, can we still answer from the deep? Money buys steel. Standards buy survival. The U.S. Naval Reactors program was bullied into existence by Admiral Hyman Rickover. He cared less about charm and more about perfection. His legacy: a record repeated without irony, 0 reactor accidents in the American fleet. That didn't happen by luck. It happened by obsession, by design reviews that took as long as they needed, and by a culture that treats good enough as a warning, not a destination. What does it take to join this world? Start with aptitude. Nuclear candidates grind through a year-plus pipeline: physics, thermodynamics, reactor operations, then prototypes. Hands-on training at full-scale plants before ever stepping on a boat. Add medical screening that kills stacks of applications. Claustrophobia: immediate disqualifier. Temperament matters more. Submarines select for calm under mutation. People who follow orders even when nobody's watching. You'll be expected to do your job perfectly the first time and every time, because there isn't a second try at 400 feet. The emotional math isn't neat. Divorce rates fight back hard. Bodies get stubborn without sunlight. Sleep patterns learn bad habits. But ask a veteran if they'd trade it, and you'll see the look before the answer. The pride is real. Friendships are forged under pressure. Literally. There's a reason reunion halls fill up decades later with people who can still trace a piping diagram from memory. Meanwhile, the ocean doesn't care about politics, and rivals don't take days off. Russia keeps building. China learns fast. Smaller states experiment with numbers over quality. That's why American submarines keep practicing the unglamorous habits. Clean the bilges, audit the watch bill, run the drill again, because the last big mishap wasn't a failure of technology but of attention. People call SSBN patrols weeks of boredom punctuated by seconds that reset your pulse. The boredom is intentional. It hides a poised animal. Somewhere in that missile compartment sit vertical promises the world prays to never cash. Boats leave quietly, return the same way. Families waiting under base lights. Kids suddenly shy around parents who feel both familiar and new. After patrol, sailors relearn sunlight. Grass feels loud. Bedrooms feel too big. And then the calendar flips and the sea calls again. If you're still picturing the steel, you've missed the real story. Submarines aren't heroic because they carry terrible power. They're heroic because people choose to live beside that power with humility and care. The system works because sailors, who could brag, don't. Because chiefs still correct small mistakes like they're big ones. Because a 19-year-old helmsman treats a midnight course change like a combat order. The machine is beautiful. The culture is why it endures. So here's the question we promised at the start. What's it like to sleep inches from history and responsibility? It's like learning to trust strangers until they aren't strangers. It's like hearing the ocean through steel and realizing it has conversations. It's like guarding a future you hope never arrives. If you respect that quiet kind of courage, type respect in the comments, so the crews who can't answer back still feel seen. And if this journey beneath the waves surprised you, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden gears that keep the world turning. Next episode, we'll step inside the training pipeline that turns a smart high school grad into a nuclear operator. What really gets people washed out, and the mind hacks sailors use to make the cut. Until then, remember, courage doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers from 800 feet below.